Greetings, all Shardvixen here, and today is April 2nd, 2017, and this is Games Shardvixen Plays, and I'm going to talk about 50 some odd years of games, probably a little less. Here we go. Okay, so in the past of my vlogs, I kind of let you know about my family. Feeling not like myself today. Okay. Anyway, I am the oldest grandchild of 8 of us, but I was the oldest, and I was the closest to my youngest aunt. And so I might really say how many, because some people are still alive, and I can't really talk about them without their permission. And a lot of them think that, sorry, didn't do this again. I feel, and not quite all myself. I need a new under mask, I think. And I have my hair different. Not all of them kind of think this whole YouTube thing is silly. Okay, like it's different location again in my house, and I'm using the tripod, which makes me look directly into the thing, but that doesn't work because I'm really supposed to look that way. I'm going to edit a lot of this, I think. Edit. No. Okay, that was me being silly because I don't know. Alright, I'm having a major issue here with my nose and my mask. And nothing wants to work right. I don't know what the issue is. You know, someday I'm going to have ears. My ears will grow. I will have grown-up ears, I guess. Okay. Maybe this is going to work, maybe not. I know, I just feel like picking my nose would be the best thing now. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this again. Maybe this will work. Anyway, as the oldest grandchild, my brother and I are 3 years apart. So as I was starting to play games, he came along, and around 5, he was too young to play. So my grandmother and my aunts and uncles would play with me. The early games I can remember, of course, are all those board games that we all have played with. And, you know, like Monopoly is a family favorite for 3 generations, interestingly enough. Scrabble, of course, because that means you have to be good enough to spell, which I'm not really that great at spelling. I'm sorry, I keep looking back here because I just feel so not me. Alright, okay. Pull yourself together. That's a little hard. It's a little hard when the representation of who I truly am is not quite in sync with the representation of who I am. Okay, that probably made no sense at all to the craziness of a tail. Yeah, okay. I don't know why nothing's fitting today. I think it's just my hair, because my hair is done differently, and so there's more on one side than the other, and I think that's might be the reason. Anyway, so we play Monopoly, we played Clue, and believe it or not, a lot of those games are much older than you think they were. We played Scrabble, we played Mousetrap, that one, the surgeon one where you pull the little things out of there. Out of the doctor game. I don't remember the doctor game. I didn't put it down as a list of my games when I was looking at games. And card games. I learned to play, you know, of course, we learned to play Rummy. I learned to play with friends. Spades, which is kind of like Rummy, only you have to collect the spades in your hand. And, I learned to play that actually in high school, the alternative education high school that I went to. So there's a lot of games throughout my whole life. And why am I telling you this? Because it's not just video games I play. I love all games, not just video games. From that Monopoly and Clue, and I'm a pretty good Monopoly player. I'm not so cutthroat as some people. Clue kind of bores me a little bit. I would prefer... I had taken Clue and built a birthday party mystery for my daughter. It was the Clue game, but we built it in a physical sense, like a role-playing sense. It didn't go so well the first time, but I realized, you know, kind of what I did wrong. But everybody enjoyed themselves, so that worked out well. let's see. So for Monopoly and Clue and that, and friends would come over, not really friends, but peers would come over. I call them peers because they weren't really friends, but they were people I played with. We'd come over and we'd sit on, I had a patio, we had a carport, and we could sit at the carport and play games. Very few of my friends were ever allowed inside my house. Very few people were ever allowed inside my house. It was only as I got a little older in high school that young ladies were allowed in my house, but not young men. So no one could come over and watch TV or do that like you do now. I had my own phone and we could call and talk and things like that. But for the most part, and I got that when I was 15 or 16. No, it had to be about 13, 14 years old. About the same time I got my own record player and everything. And I had to beg for my own phone so that I would have privacy when I called. But that didn't really work well. It never works well with your parents and give you your own phone. I mean, now it does. We are less intrusive into, in some ways, we are less intrusive into our children's lives than my parents were, but then in other ways we're more intrusive, if that makes sense. Well, around 17, 18, 19 years old, I started getting into Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, that made me a psychotic child. But I didn't have really any friends that wanted to play that. I was the only weirdo of the bunch for that. So I learned to play it by myself, and then as I got older, I'd meet people around and about, and from there I went into a lot of guilds. I joined guilds, and in the guild guilds are kind of like for Renaissance Guild or pirate guilds or something. That's kind of like role-playing games. If you go into the Society of Creative Acquisition, I think that's what it's called, they do a lot of role-playing. They have huge battles for their kingdoms and everything, and I joined twice. I've joined some of them in create. I always play a fool, so I wanted to get this out for April's Fools, because April Fools is kind of a fun time for me on a different way. Just a brief side note. April Fools was a day because the calendar used to start in April. And then, because we have a time period that there wasn't, news didn't travel very fast, or only traveled as fast as a horse could go, there were people who never got the news when they changed the time of New Year's, which went to December and January. Which was a political reason, I'm sure, or a political or religious reason of some type. I don't remember exactly. But so what would happen is people who then still celebrated it were called fools, and people made fun of them. It wasn't really a nice time, so they would make fun of them, and they would have a grand time, and then it kind of merged into its own little activity, because pretty soon, I'm going to guess most people realized that the New Year no longer happened on April Fool's Day. So that's where that comes, and the idea of playing pranks was because you played them on those people, because they were stupid, because they didn't know. It would be like, you would be like targeting flat earth people. And I'm not like targeting anybody about that, so don't get me wrong, though I don't believe in it. I think that it's kind of that thing that somebody just, they grab onto because it sounds good. And it's hard to imagine a world where we have, our world is kind of round. It's kind of nicer to think of a flat world. And, you know, there's a lot of sci-fi people out there that have explored the idea of a flat Earth. So I have digressed, and I've got a cat who's rubbing, two cats and a dog, sorry, who are rubbing around my tripod for some particular interesting reason. I think the cat's picking on the little puppy to smack her around. Anyway, so to go back to games, then I'm trying to think. I just keep at around 13, 14 years old, a friend of mine's parents got the Atari. And at about the exact same time, though, arcades started popping, not arcades, but video games started to kind of replace pinballs. There was this pizza parlor down the street from us called The Pizza Parlor, believe it or not, next to The Dairy King, not a Dairy Queen, and right behind the grocery store that we all went to. So I could walk down to the grocery store. I could walk down to the Dairy King, and I would take my pocket money, which was usually stolen from my brother's pocket money, or I would steal it out of my parents' glass bank. They had a big, huge bank, and I always learned how to get through any of the banks. Yes, I was a little thief child. Because I lived, in our household, we weren't allowed to eat candy or soda or ice cream. Soft serve ice cream. I craved it like it was a drug. And so I would steal quarters and go down and buy me an ice cream. After a while, though, I started stealing quarters to go down and play video games. Not all the time. I'd still do other stuff. But when I was young, when I was like 12, 13 years old, young teenagers weren't really encouragedly allowed to come into the pizza parlor where the pinball and the billiards were and everything like that. Though there were bars that I knew you could get into, so that didn't really make much sense. But anyway, so it's like a weird rambly video. I'm sorry. The dogs are kind of driving me nuts, but it's the way it is. I can edit them out, I'm sure. Anyhow, so, anywho, I'm feeling a little hoo-hoo today. Cuckoo, the fox is feeling a little cuckoo, and with a hoo-hoo. I get stuck with sounds, I'm sorry. Anyhow, so, yeah, let's just move on. Don't get to the anyhow anymore, anywhere. So, there was this weird transition that occurred for games. People were going over to their rich friends who had the Atari, because they were kind of pricey. And we were playing Pong and Space Invaders and Breakout. And those were the three games that I remember on the Atari, specifically. Probably Sonic on the Atari too, but then I think it went to Sega very quickly. I think Sega popped up probably around the time I was around 18 or so. And then I would go to arcades. So arcades popped up in the 70s. I want to say 1975 or so. Maybe later, maybe early, but I want to say around that time. Pinball, you had pinball and then you had arcades. And people were starting to break records and do all that. And there's a whole documentary on that you can check out that is on YouTube, I think, about record breakers in the arcade system. And so that was always kind of interesting to me. When I was about 20, well, when I started dating this guy when I was 18, he was big into that Star Wars game where you flew and bombed the Death Star. I don't remember. There was other parts to it, but I always remembered that part. I don't know why. And you would barrel down it. It would like this, and then you had to hit the button right time, and then the bomb would go down and. So that was, yeah, I remember that one. My favorite arcade games, though, were Centipede, which was this little creature one. And you would, kind of like Space Invaders, and you had to hit their little butts, and the butts would explode, boom, 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 and then the things would drop down like this, and so you had to do this real huge multitasking thing. I really liked that game. I don't think I ever got really high scores. I'm not the best player in anything, maybe cards. I do okay in cards. And then, from there, it went to, let's see, what was the next one? And then Tempest. I love Tempest, and I don't remember the music to Tempest, couldn't help you, but it was kind of very electronically based, like some of my friends that are on my YouTube that have the EDM music, you know, the electric dance music. Yes, I did that right. And, you would go, and you go around these circles, and you had to hit the buttons at the right time, and it sent these, and so maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But I really like that game. That was one of my favorites too. And Burger Time. I just love Burger Time. I probably did some high scores on Burger Time, and that was where and I have yet to find it in any form that I really enjoy. And that was where you made these hamburgers, and then you would run across, and they would drop down, and that was always really cool. And then as when my daughter came along, well, before my daughter, about the time my daughter came along, her father bought me an NES, and so Mario Brothers, not my favorite, Duck Hunt, not my favorite, Final Fantasy, that was my favorite, and I played that game quite a bit. And I think I played number 2 quite a bit. I'm not positive. And then there was kind of a skip. I had a Sega too. Lots of Sonic. Loved Sonic. Street Fighter. You know, all kinds of little... There's probably quite a few Nintendo games I had. I just don't remember them all. Zelda. Had Zelda. You know, I had a Zelda. It was in a gold... Had a gold cartridge. And then there was another gap. I didn't play a lot of video games unless we went to the arcade. We'd go bowling and go to the arcade when my daughter was small. I just didn't have the money to buy the consoles. And then I bought, but I had a friend who had a computer, and I played some computer games. And one of the little computer games I played a lot of, besides Snake, was, and that bomb away thing, and was Chips Challenge. Loved Chips Challenge. Awesome game. And then from there, I think I'm trying to do it fast and I'm failing, but in around 97 or so, somebody told me about Final Fantasy VII and said you should try this game. So I bought me a place with my money. I got fired and I took some money, and I was kind of waiting around on unemployment to figure out what I was going to do. And I decided I was going to go back to school, so I had to wait till school started up again. And I had like this layoff of about 6 months or so. So I bought me, and unbeknownst to me at that time, my fibromyalgia was kicking up, and I was having a really hard time with my health. But at that time, no one knew what it was. It was just all in my head. So I was going to stay home. Sorry, there it goes again. I was going to stay home. The dog's being weird. And I played Final Fantasy from the beginning to the end, and just absolutely fell in love with the game. I think I played it like 3 times. And then from there, did Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10. I think 11 was online, 12, 13. I haven't played any of the new ones because I can't afford them, and I don't have the newer consoles for them. So it's either 11 or 12 that's online. Whichever one's online, I didn't play that one. Though I might someday play it. I don't know if I have a fast enough computer. And then from there then I bought the Nintendo 64. No, I didn't buy it. My ex bought it for my daughter. So we played games on there, of course, which was back to the Mario Brothers. And then down the road, Game Boy came in, and we got those. And then, you know, slowly we built these games that we really, really loved. Assassin's Creed. Love Assassin's Creed. I like role-playing games. I like being in the middle of something and have to choose. Now, Assassin's Creed, not so much. That has its own little play line, and you just kind of follow that line out. You don't, even though you get to roam the world, you still have this set task that you have to do. Fallout's really awesome for that whole, am I going to be a good guy, am I going to be a bad guy kind of person. Same thing for Mass Effect, gives you that choice. Dragon Age gives you that choice. You have the option of being a good person or a bad person or somebody in between. And it's always interesting to me psychologically that I always pick the same thing. I feel bad being mean even to people on the video games. Though I do tend to be a bit of a thief. Gee, I wonder. Anyway, so my daughter likes to play video games. She who shall not be named. Big video game player. Probably not as much. She doesn't have as much time since I've become disabled. She has to help take care of me and work, and then take care of her son when she's home. Though I take care of him with the help of my son when she's not home. My son is probably more of an electronically based person, though he doesn't always play a lot of games. He really likes YouTube. Has since he was, I don't know, probably 6, 7 years old. So probably 6 or 7 years now he's been on it. Because he probably got on it at his dad's house, and then as he got his own electronics, he was probably on that. And then now my grandson's big YouTube, but you know, YouTube is huge. And so I know everybody's really worried about the whole advertising and monetization and stuff like that. But if you do a little bit of research in it, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on, and they're using the excuse of the bad videos when a lot of the companies are now using it to renegotiate different contracts. So in business, they do that a lot. So do some research on that if you're curious about it. I figure you just wait, see where the chips fall, and there's other companies out there, and more companies will pop up. You could do Twitch. for me, I could do Twitch, I could do Twitter. I just don't right now because I got a lot of time going on in here. It took me 3 days just to do that little bits of animation that you see in my title. Because first I have to create the pictures. I have to get all the pictures, create the pictures, then I have to cut them apart, and then I have to paste them. Now I could do it, sometimes I do it here on my studio board first, and then that gives you a different texture, and then I'll add background pictures. I do different things that come to my head, and I say, well, let's try this and see how it looks. That was kind of interesting. It was a weird collage on top of collage. So please let me know, you know, what do you think of just some of the different animation? Not all of them are good, and I'm not going to feel bad if you say, God, I really didn't like that one, or I really like this one, or whatever. A lot of people don't like stop motion, and I get that. I can do drawing, I just not as good at it from, you know, like, here's this pose, and then here's this pose, and then there's this pose. It's easier for me to take a picture and then manipulate the picture the way I want it to go. Anyway, so that's it. That's, I don't think it's 50 years of gaming. It's probably like, I don't know. Well, probably about when I was 5, so 40 some odd years of gaming. The thing that's important here is that video games aren't the only games. We play games in my house. We play board games. We play card games. We play, we don't do a lot of role-playing here, but we have been in guilds that did the role-playing. So my brain likes games, which is why when I thought, what kind of thing could I originally start as a channel, was gaming. Now I realize I'm not really that great at being a funny person in the gaming part, but that's okay. I enjoy it. Anyway, so I'm out of here. Hope you guys enjoy the vlog. Let me know, and I will catch you all on the flip side. By the way, be sure to go check out Black Box Official. He's got a whole bunch of new songs up, and they're really, really cool sounding EDM songs. Even if you're not really into that, this latest one he did is really good. Anyway, catch you all on the flip side. Peace. Out of here.